Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another Bird Barrier Pro Lab podcast. My name is Matthew Eargle. I'm a product specialist here at Bird Barrier. I am joined by my good friend John Kotze, all the way from South Africa, Cape Town, right?
That's right. Thanks for having me, Matt.
Yeah, absolutely. And so today we wanted to talk about the eagle eye. We've talked about the history and the science of eagle eye. Now we wanted to talk about the ideal placements of eagle eye. As many people have known, we do guarantee eagle eye if it's done correctly.
That's right.
And as we say, to do correctly, we will literally just hand you the instructions and say, you need to put these things here, 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 and here, as well as whatever sort of physical supplementation might be necessary if we have nesting birds or resident birds or whatever.
Yeah.
So we just wanted to briefly kind of go through some of the logic behind how these placements come together and combining that with the science of the eagle eye itself. And of course, this is not like a robust zero to hero kind of training thing where you're going to see this and you're going to be able to go out and say, I need eagle eyes here, 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 and here. This is more just to give you an overview as an ability to explain to your customers how this works and why we use so many and why we place them where we do. So John, let's talk about initial placement of units. So if you can just kind of elaborate on that a little bit, where we would start.
Yeah, so first of all, it's important for us to get as much information from the site as possible. So whatever you guys can tell us about the type of bird, the type of infestation, is it low pressure, medium pressure, high pressure, we take all of that in consideration when we send you the recommendation map. Also, what time of day is the problem? Is it mostly in the mornings or in the afternoons, or is it the whole day? Is there food nearby? Is there water nearby? So the more information you can give us, the more accurate placement recommendations we can give you. Or sometimes we even tell you to try something else. So we are brutally honest. We're not here to sell you the systems. We're here to sell you a solution. So, and getting back to the eagle eye unit and the system, it's a visual bird deterrent system. So you must think as if you are a bird, basically, flying towards the building. And the units must be as visible as possible, and the flashes must be towards the birds. Because you don't want the birds to sit on the building and then see the flashes, then they won't be bothered. It's while they are approaching the building. So we want to get the system up in the correct areas so that they see it from far away.
So a good rule of thumb would be a line of sight. If you cannot see the units, the birds are not going to be able to see the units.
Exactly. So it's not something that you can hide the units for aesthetic purposes, then it's not going to be effective. So it needs to be visible for both humans and birds.
And we can elaborate on that in a little bit when we talk about different kinds of placements. So if we have, say, someone gives us a physical address, because that's the first thing we ask for, is we need a physical address so we can get this thing on satellite, we can take a look, a bird's eye view, if you will, and see the environment and the structure itself. So say we have a satellite view now. What is the first thing we're going to look at?
We're going to look at different structures on the buildings, your highest points. Is it a house? Are there any chimneys? Or is there buildings next to the one, maybe casting a shadow over this building? So we're going to sort of think like a bird and see where would my favorite landing position be coming into the building. And then we will take that as step one and place our primary units there, and then work our way around the property and spacing the units apart so the whole area is protected.
Okay. So we start with our high points. Yeah. Now there is some logic to where we put these things. Of course, you're talking about the approach angles. We know that we're reflecting sunlight. So this is going to change across the day, correct?
Yeah, correct.
So we need to take in consideration how the sun's going to move across the sky, as well as how the sun is going to change positions throughout the year even. So there's a lot of like forethought that comes into this, correct?
Correct, yeah. Being in the United States, obviously the equator is to the south of you, so most of the flashes will be towards the south. So in the morning it's going to flash predominantly southeast, and in the afternoons it's going to flash southwest. So if you're putting a unit on the southern point of the building, you must remember the northern side, there will not be any flashes on that side. So birds can still come in and land there. So it's not just like sticking one eagle eye up and your whole area is covered. You must sort of think of where the sun is going to be, what time, and where's the blind spots.
So we see a lot of industrial applications where you'll have maybe a truck terminal. Where they have doors on one or another side of the building, and they get, of course the doors are open and closed and everything. And unfortunately, sometimes those doors might be on the north side of the building. So what would you say we do in those particular situations, just off the cuff?
Yeah, I would say install your system to protect the doors on the southern side and on the eastern and western side. But you must be aware that you're going to need some added protection for the doors on the northern side, being strip curtains or some netting inside the building. But you must know that areas the birds will still be able to come in. So you need to look at it logically and honestly.
Okay. Let's see.
Yeah, there you can see a good example. I don't know if the viewer can see the slide here. Now you have your primary eagle eye on the highest point, and you see it's flashing towards the sun. And where the northern side of that, the bird would have been able to come and perch there, and now you install a secondary unit on that side. If it's a small building, it doesn't necessarily have to be another eagle eye unit. You can complement it with a smaller propeller unit just to get the flashes on that side as well. So that I've got your back type of situation here. The whole area is covered.
So it's almost a redundancy at that point.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Now a little bit about the propeller. So we use that as more of a fill in the gap kind of a solution.
Yes.
Here. And I think we have that in another slide here probably.
Yeah, like your eagle eye has got the brightest strobes and the most consistent strobes, and the range is the largest of all the reflective units. So that'll always be your primary unit. But then to complement it, we developed the propeller unit. So we always have propeller units between two adjacent eagle eye units, just for that extra flashes, that extra blind spot coverage, and the extra patterns. So altogether, the two of them makes a fantastic system because of the different flashing angles and patterns. And when a bird is flying in, it really looks busy with all the flashes going all over the place. So that is what we're trying to achieve.
Almost an avian discotheque.
Almost, but one you don't want to go to.
You don't want to go to, right. Yeah. So a lot of buildings, we're going to have like different roof peaks, different pitches. There's going to be different curtain walls around HVAC units and things like that. So there's going to be a lot of shaded areas or sheltered areas. So how do we approach that?
Everybody must know that the eagle eye is not effective for birds that are nesting or sleeping, roosting on top of the building. So you must always address that areas first. If once those areas are addressed and closed down with your physical bird-proofing products, then you put up the reflective eagle eye system to get those stubborn ones, to give them the final kick out of the door and to prevent new birds from coming in and settling on the building. So there must be a combination. So whenever you are on a building, do a site inspection, please look out for areas of nesting and roosting, and they must be addressed. Same goes for areas where they get easy, or where they find easily accessible food sources and water sources. That must also be closed down before you install the eagle eye system.
So what we want to look at more is addressing some of the more higher pressure situations with more traditional methods, maybe your stealth nets or your flex tracks or your optical gels.
Exactly.
And then reinforcing that with the eagle eye.
Exactly. The eagle eye system is not in competition with any bird proofing products. They're all fantastic products, and we use them in combination to get the best result and the most cost-effective result.
Absolutely. So we look at everything as a holistic picture.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. So let's see. So let's take a look just real quick at sort of the step-by-step that we will go through to
Yeah.
do a placement. Say we have a large flat roof building like a big box store or a strip mall or something like that. So can you just kind of walk us through the process of placing these units?
We found it's important to make the whole process of placing them as simple as possible. One can easily get overwhelmed if you're on a site and on a roof that size. So we just have these step-by-step guidelines of what to look for and where to place the units. And as you see here, your step number 1 will be place your eagle eye units on the highest points of the building. Even if these highest points are not near the problem areas, you still need the units up there. So that will be your step number 1, highest points.
Okay. And we want to make, in most cases, we want to make those the 12-volt units, correct?
That will be the optimal solution,
Okay.
yes.
And we can do wind-driven units sometimes with that if the prevailing wind conditions will allow that.
Yeah, if you're in an area with consistent breezy conditions, you can go for them. Normally on our placement maps, you will see we do a 50-50 split between 12-volt and wind-driven units, just so that we know you have those consistent flashes all day long. But it's up to you on the ground who knows the area to make that final decision. So, as you see on this slide, now you have your highest points covered. Step 2, go for the corners. So you install your eagle eye units on every corner of the building. So you've got your highest points and your corners, and then the next step will be to color in the whole picture. So one eagle eye has got an effective radius of 30 meters. So on a large building, you can place 2 eagle eyes about 60 meters apart, which is about 200 feet apart.
Okay.
So you've got your highest points, your corners, and then every 200 feet or 60 meters, you place another eagle eye. It can be wind-driven or solar-powered or mains-powered. And then you know you're going to have a good coverage. And then step number 3, which will be the next slide, is you place 1 propeller unit between every 2 adjacent eagle eye units.
Right.
So before we had the propeller, that photo would have looked much differently. You would have needed many more eagle eyes than there are actually there. So in saving cost and gaining effectiveness, you have the 2 eagle eyes with a propeller between them.
I see. Yeah, I remember doing these many years ago, before before you guys made all the improvements to the propeller and brought it up to what it is today. It was a lot more.
Yeah.
It was usually, I wouldn't say twice as many eagle eye units, but you definitely had a lot more units in there, usually wind-driven units to bring down that cost. But it's become a much more efficient system now, and so it's very very practical.
Yeah, if you think where we started, it was like almost 75% more eagle eye reflective units, and in the beginning they were all motorized units. So you can imagine it was quite a costly system. It was still very effective, but extremely costly. It wasn't so accessible to the general public and to everybody. By bringing it down where we are now with the wind-drivens and the propellers, I think we're hitting a sweet spot here of a good price and good value for money and still getting great results.
Absolutely, and the progress keeps churning. You're going to go home after all of this. You're going to go home and you're going to think, what's the next thing I can do? How can I improve this thing?
Yeah, I think it's because we have such good relationships between the companies. We're constantly talking and getting client feedback from you guys and helping you as well. So we're all learning the whole time and trying to improve to get to a better spot.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
That's what we have to do.
And speaking of which, that's part of the reason that I'm here. You might recognize my name on a lot of these emails that come through. John and I are in almost daily communication with Eagle Eye. And so anything that comes up with Eagle Eye, you're going to be talking to me because it's going to be a long distance call to South Africa, and we'll be calling you, while you're having supper.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm sort of your North American liaison in a way. So so
And you understand my accent by this time.
I do understand your accent
after
by this
years of
time.
struggling.
So, yeah. But yeah, if you have issues with Eagle Eye, I'm going to be the one that you'll be talking to, and if it's something I can't handle, then I'm going to be calling him, and he will take my call. So
Yes, I do.
all right, so there we have our propeller.
That slide is just to show how important it is to take note of buildings next to the one you're trying to treat or solve the problem. That sometimes you get a tall skyscraper or even trees next to the building, and which are going to cast a shadow over the system, then the system will not be effective. So then you have to go for your physical bird-proofing products.
Yeah, and we've seen a few with maybe in a wooded area, a small structure in a wooded area, and it's just surrounded by trees, and it's just, unfortunately, we just say, I'm sorry, eagle eye is just not going to be effective here.
Exactly.
And we have to look at something else.
Exactly. There's too many places for the birds to hide inside of trees. So when there are a lot of trees and lots of shade, then go for something else.
Yeah. So a very common question I get is, will eagle eye work on a tree? And of course the answer is no, unfortunately.
No, it's the bird's natural habitat. They feel very safe in there, so no, it won't work there. And the next one, we are very sensitive for neighbors. We don't want to irritate any neighbors with the flashes and the strobes. So please consider them as well when you're determining installation spots for the eagle eye. So if you see the neighbor has got a prominent window overlooking the beach, which is on the southern side of where you want to place the eagle eye, rather see if there's a different spot to place the unit. Or you get shields that you can put on afterwards, but if you install a shield, you're sort of reducing the effectiveness of the system.
It's almost a nuclear option at that point, because you're just rendering it ineffective in a very large area.
Yeah, exactly. So it's best to prevent this from happening when you're doing your site assessment. And then if you know that the neighbors are going to complain, then once again, be honest with them and tell them, look, you're going to get too much trouble from the neighbors. Let's go for something else.
Now, eagle eye, we were talking with Michael earlier, eagle eye was originally developed as sort of an agricultural product.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So if we have, say, a large field of, here in California, we have a lot of agriculture, a lot of grapes up in Northern California, and various other crops that the birds really like to get into. So what do we look at in those particular situations?
Well, first of all, when doing a placement in the agriculture, it is very important to have the system in place in time. So you want the system installed at least 3 weeks before your produce have become ripe, before the birds already know there's food available in there. Once the birds are actively feeding inside there, it's almost impossible to get them out. So before the season, at least 3 weeks, get your propeller units and your bird tape in there. It's a very cost-effective system for the amount of area that you're covering, so you will make it up within the first season or two, depending on how much food the birds physically damage and take away.
Okay. So really, it's the timing is the key. Just like in the architectural side of it, it's getting the pressure down. Or, so there's no food, there's no shelter, there's none of that. We get the eagle eyes up as soon as we can, and that way we take care of the problem.
Yes, absolutely. So it's the timing and have it in during the season, and then after the season you can remove the units and put it away if you want to. Otherwise you can leave it in the field, but just make sure that you keep it nice and clean and shiny.
Okay. So let's take a look here. We get a lot of industrial applications.
Yes.
So you have large facilities, a refinery or a plastics facility or a food processing facility, things like that. Those are almost ideal spots for the architectural application of eagle eye. So let's take a look here and let's kind of go through. We have an example here of an industrial facility. Let's kind of go through what we're seeing here, just so somebody could interpret this map that they get from us.
Yeah, this is a very large facility, and of course you can see there are lots of towering structures, nice high points everywhere. So you will see that most of the eagle eye units are placed on the highest points, so it will be visible from far away. Even the ones that are not on high points but on the flat areas, you use extension poles just to get that unit a little bit further off the roof, so it makes the effective range much further. So there you can see a typical combination of eagle eyes on the highest points and on the corners, and then filling in the gaps with propellers and secondary eagle eye units. Obviously, knowing these kind of sites, there are so much shelter around, behind piping and all those places. So it's very important to address those areas as well. And
Right.
that is something that we cannot tell you from looking at satellite images. It's something that you must physically go and inspect on site.
Right.
It must be addressed in conjunction with the Eagle Eye system.
So the physical inspection is just as, if not more important than the satellite inspection.
Absolutely, yeah. What we're doing is we're basically giving you a good guideline of where to place your Eagle Eye units, but the Eagle Eye system must be complemented by the groundwork that you are doing with the physical bird proofing.
So if we have a situation like this one, you know, and you get the map, and they have that in hand, the first, you know, and it's going to be in the packet that they receive that, you know, you need to do this, this,
Yeah.
this. So it's absolutely imperative that they do the legwork, that the installer does the legwork and sees where that physical complement, those physical complements are necessary. And something like this, of course, you know, my answer is, you know, throw a net over the whole facility. But that would be very big and costly, and we need air cranes. And,
Yeah.
you know, it just doesn't work.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
we can use Eagle Eye to take care of a lot of the heavy lifting.
Yes.
And sort of surgically pinpoint a few areas that are the hot spots that we can address.
Yeah, exactly. So before Eagle Eye, you would have had to install bird-proofing products all over the whole building. But now with the system in place, you only need to address those hot spots with bird-proofing products.
Fantastic. And so it all works together and it all comes together.
Exactly.
And
We're all friends in the bird control industry.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And, well, except for the birds, I guess.
I love them the most.
Oh, yes, of course. Yeah. Well, appreciate it, John. It's been a lot of fun, and I wish you safe journeys on your way back to South Africa.
Thank you
and
very much.
We'll be in contact. And if you guys have any questions about Eagle Eye, anything like that, please get a hold of us.